And I think that's an area where there's probably a lot of refund opportunity for companies, both software and information services sourcing. And we're seeing more and more cases where the courts are agreeing that you get to source those, those services, right? There was a recent Massachusetts case on software. There's other states' guidance that, really mean, if you're buying a lot of software, remote software, or if you're buying a lot of information service that is, delivered electronically or accessed electronically, it's worth taking a look. Now, I am not a huge fan of reverse audits. I've seen reverse audits come back.
Me neither. Yep.
Right. But on a thoughtful, item by item basis, there certainly are times when it makes sense to go back and look and see, did you assign your information service 100% to a state that taxes information services because that was the billing or the shipping address?
Right.
But in fact, your users are elsewhere.
That's right.
And sometimes it's just good to keep that in your back pocket for when you have an audit to raise it as,
some kind of an arbitrage.
Well, and then what we have conversations with our clients about is the opposite, right? It's like, okay, well, if we're pulling this specific invoice out of New York, it's like, well, remember, there's like this handover here that you need to put into New York. They're like, oh yeah. So we're just going to ignore it all the way because at some point it might wash. Sometimes it won't, but then it's like, yeah, we can't just pull things out without thinking of the opposite and putting things back in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but it's sometimes it's worth checking because that other state might not tax it.
That's right.
Or that other state might have guidance that says we assign this to billing address, right? Well, then you're fine in that state because the billing address was somewhere else. But in some other state where it's not clear it should be billing address, but rather where the users are, right? Then it does make sense because you're not going to just move it from one state taxability to another state. You have a strong basis in the other state to say, oh, your rules say we assign it somewhere else, right? We're not playing games here. We're just following your rules. But this other state says we can look to actual use. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and we've kind of been talking about this all along is kind of this like idea of overreaching and whatnot. But I think what we wanted to kind of hear from you, Leah, is if you see and where you see kind of governments overreaching kind of beyond what may be allowable under the Constitution. And if, you can speak to some of those items, maybe you don't agree with that statement, from some of the constitutional limitations that there may be some like, we're getting real close to like, this just isn't allowed by, the Constitution and whatnot.